Hey everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to talk about a relatively light, abstract game, but a beautiful one, and that game is Azul by Michael Kiesling, and released by Plan B Games. This is a tile choosing and placing game where you're trying to make a mosaic on your player board in order to best score points. But really the interaction comes in the order in which you choose these tiles and how other players manipulate those tiles in order to, well, possibly screw you over. So, real quick, why don't we take a look at what you get inside of this box. We'll see how the game plays, and we'll come back at the end and get my opinions on Azul. So here you can see the components for Azul. This will be a very fast overview because it's not a very complicated game. What you've got here is the setup for a 4-player game. There's less of these little tiles, each one of these individual things for fewer players. But you randomly seed these tiles from this bag in here. So this bag is full of various numbers of these tiles. And you see them like this, and then the first player on their turn is going to choose any one of these individual platters, and they're going to take all of one color from that platter. Maybe this player decides to take this individual bluish, whitish tile, and they're going to place it out onto one of the rows of their board here. All of the tiles you take at once must be placed in the same row. So if I wanted to take these 2 blue instead, I could either put them on the 2 row or any of the larger rows, or I could put one of the blues in this row and the other one would have to go to the bottom because I cannot place it in the same row. This row is now full. So maybe this player decides to take this one right here, and the rest of the tiles that they didn't take are going to move into the center of this area. So now this platter is done, right? There's nothing left on it. The next player has a choice. They can choose all of one color from any of the remaining platters, or they can pull from this center area, and they can take any one color from the center area. Anytime you pull from this center area, if you're the first player to do so, you must also take this 1 token. And this 1 token will go down at the bottom, just like any extra tiles you're unable to place in a row, and these will be worth negative points at the end of the round. So maybe the next player decides to take these 2 yellow. I don't have their board, but perhaps they put them in the 2 spot here. You get the idea. They're off to the side, and the remaining tiles go here. You're going to do this until all of these platters are empty and all of the tiles are gone from the center. So you have to be very strategic in which tiles you take in order to best fill up rows. Now it is possible at some point that maybe a player takes this yellow here, and in a future round they take these 2 yellows and they want to place 1 here and 1 down at the bottom, or maybe they place the first yellow here and they want to add the 2 more yellows to there to finish this row. This is all legal. The only things you're not allowed to do are place tiles into a row where there's already a tile in that part of the flooring, or to put more tiles into multiple rows at the same time. So that's not allowed. Now, once this is all done, maybe players have grabbed tiles. Let's say this happened. You know, who knows? That's happened. It doesn't matter. And this player ends up with something like this at the end of the round. All right, so all of the other tiles have been taken. Everybody's got tiles on their board. What you're going to do at the end of the round then is any row you have completed. So for example, this row right here is done. You're going to shift over one of the tiles to the appropriate spot on your board over here, and you're going to score points for it as you do so. So shifting this tile over, I'm going to score 1 point because you always score the row and the column for touching tiles. So in this case, it's only touching itself, 1 point, and I would score that here. This next tile, I didn't finish anything here. I would shift this one over here, and that would score me 1 more point. These other 2 tiles are discarded out of the game, and they may come back later when we need to refill this bag. This third row here I didn't complete, so these tiles are going to stay here until I either complete this row or for the rest of the game. Now, the way other things might score is instead of this, maybe I had these 2 tiles here, and I put this one out. So now this is going to score 2 points because it's touching one other tile in the column. If there also happened to be a red in this row when I place that, so now this is coming in, I would score 4 points for both the row and the column. So it's really pretty basic. Now this row can no longer have the blue and white tiles. This row could no longer have the black and blue or the red tiles, but the rest of these rows would be open. Additionally, during these rounds, if I had any tiles down in this bottom area, either the 1 player tile, the first player to go tile from the center, or tiles that I was unable to place in rows, they're going to score negative points. And you'll see it's -1 for the first, -1 for the second, 2, 2, 2, 3, and 3 negative points. So it is possible to score quite a few negative points throughout the game. Once you're done with this, you're going to reseed all of these. So this will be empty. You're going to pull 4 new tiles for each one of these platters from the bag, refilling with the ones that have been removed from the game if you run out. And you're going to start another round. And you're going to play rounds until something happens. Either you'll be unable to seed the tiles, which doesn't really happen in my experience, or somebody or multiple players fill up one entire row of their board. Most often that's this first row here because it only takes 1 tile per round to do it. So the minimum number of rounds in the game is 5. Oftentimes it can go quite a few more than that if somebody's intentionally avoiding this to score more points. Once this is done, you finish that round out, and you're going to score, of course, your normal points for placing the rows that you place, and some additional points. Each completed row is worth 2 points. Each completed column is worth 7 points. So obviously it's harder to do columns than it is rows. And then each color that you have completed all 5 of, so for example, if you filled in all 5 blues or all 5 reds or yellows, is going to be worth 10 additional points. In that manner, you're going to score points, and whoever has the most points will be the winner. Now, the other side of this board is going to be slightly different. On this side of the board, there are no predetermined areas where you must place things. However, each one of your columns may only have 1 of each color in it. So for example, you can only have 1 red, 1 yellow, 1 black, 1 blue, and 1 lightish blue in this column. And if you try to place something in another way, that's not allowed. So you have to pay very close attention to where you're seating your tiles over in these rows, where you place them out on this board so that you don't kind of end up in a bad position, unable to place tiles that you've taken. Otherwise, the game plays exactly the same way, and whoever has the most points after 1 full row is completed will be the winner. Well, there you have it. That is Azul. So first comment on this one, the game is beautiful. I mean, it just looks great on the table, and the components are such that it has a really nice tactile feel to it. So it's got both the look and the feel of a great game. Beyond that, it has the gameplay of what I would call a great game as well. It's very simple, but there's a lot of choices to be made, and it's fast enough where even though it's not the deepest game in the world, it's a lot of fun, and it feels strategic enough for the amount of time that it takes. So, I really enjoy this one. You can get it to the table, you can get it set up and played in, 15 minutes for the whole game if you're playing with one of my groups. And at the end of it, you feel like you won because you made good decisions. Now, you can certainly make very bad decisions. I once tried to start my mosaic from both sides of the board and scored like no points and lost a ton and had very few points at the end of the game. But that's my own fault. So if you're into basic, kind of light abstract games that feel strategic and play very quickly, I would definitely recommend that you check this one out. That's Azul.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.